Kamala Harris cannot say a sentence. She's almost worse than him. She talks in like gypsy curses.
Gypsies.
What are you doing, Potter? Get out the way back.
Can't really understand much of what is being said.
You tell me. Come about the caravan.
It's not English.
How are you? Fair, the winter's been kind just for the horses, you know.
What's up, guys? Your boy Benny. You ever seen those Southwest airline ads where somebody does something extremely cringe or humiliating or embarrassing or career-ending and they need to get away or want to get away? Get on a plane, get on a flight, get the hell out of there. You've done humiliated yourself. Now get out. Does that remind you of Kamala Harris's entire campaign? Like every time Kamala Harris is giving a speech or is saying something to anyone, anywhere, it's like, want to get away? Yeah, you done F that one up. Check this out from last night. Kamala Harris is giving a speech and people chant her names. And in response to people chanting her name, Kamala Harris does the worst possible thing that you can do. She makes everybody feel awkward. She maniacally, hysterically laughs like she's on some type of drug. And then she immediately starts hugging her teleprompter. It's terrible. It's literal political campaign malpractice. Watch. Okay. People are chanting your name. Got it. It's a nice moment. It's a warm, special moment. Although we know a lot of these people are probably paid to be there, got a pack of cigarettes, got a Chick-fil-A sandwich for free, was bussed in. We know based on the cell phone data that a lot of these people will go to the rally after rally after rally. So they're probably like rent a crowd people for Kamala. And they were probably told to chant her name here. But either way, they're chanting her name, so that's nice.
Okay, now I want each of you to shout your own name. Do that. Because it's about all of us.
We do speak at large events, all right, on occasion. And it's very important to roll with the energy of the crowd. The last thing we want to do when the crowd is energized and chanting your name is to shut them up and make them feel super awkward and then maniacally laugh like a sociopath. But then Kamala does the last final insult to the crowd, which is to immediately start reading from her prompter again without acknowledging how strange and awkward that moment was.
It's about all of us. And listen, I have fought my whole career to put the people first.
Look at her jump back to the teleprompter like it was the door of the Titanic that Rose was laying on to stop from freezing to death, shoving Jack off into the abyss. Kamala Harris is so bad at this. She's so bad, ladies and gentlemen. She can't even get through a friendly rally. She can't even get through a friendly interview. Here's CBS News asking Kamala Harris, like, are you blowing this?
Suggest that your momentum has slowed. Do you feel like the race is slipping away?
I do not. And actually, and I agree with you. I think certainly polling is a measure, but to be frank, if I'd listened to polls, I would have never run for my first or second office. I wouldn't be here talking with you. And what I am seeing are in states such as South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia.
What are you talking about? What the hell's going on, lady? That answer makes no sense. You don't even know the difference between North and South Carolina. Kamala, awkward Michigan crowd rally goes awkwardly silent. She's so insanely bad at this. She's going to set the Democrat Party back years. Look at the size of her teleprompter, by the way. This thanks to Alex Stein, who went to a rally for Kamala Harris and showed us the absolute unit that is the teleprompter and how the speakers can't even say Kamala's name correctly. This is Beyonce's mom. Beyonce's mom doesn't even remember who her daughters are. That has to be in the prompter. How embarrassing. How put upon. How scripted is all of this? Ladies and gentlemen, the most unscripted show on the internet is the Joe Rogan show, where Joe Rogan talks for hours and hours with his guests about a wide range of topics. Now, Joe Rogan decided to post the entire show to X with his interview with President Trump, which is the most seen interview possibly in human history. And we're going to wait for the final numbers to click in. But hundreds of millions of people have now watched this interview. Joe Rogan had to post this to X because there was a there was mass reporting bot attack on Joe Rogan's YouTube account that got the interview delisted. That's since been fixed. But in the middle of that news cycle yesterday, Joe Rogan decided to post the full interview on X. This is great. Seen by another 10 million people here on X. And then Rogan says this, that has sent everybody into a psychotic break on the left. Also, for the record, the Harris campaign has not passed on doing the podcast. They offered a date for Tuesday, but I would have had to travel to her, and they only wanted to do 1 hour. I strongly feel the best way to do it is in the studio in Austin. My sincere wish is to just have a nice conversation to get to know a human being. I hope we can make it happen, says Joe Rogan. So Joe Rogan is saying exactly what we have been predicting on this program, which is that Kamala Harris would never do. But Kamala Harris can't be unscripted at her own rallies. Kamala Harris has no capacity to even speak with all the supporters that money can buy, which are the people that show up to her rallies. She has no capacity to survive a moment where people are chanting her name. Imagine what she'd be like under the glaring scrutiny of Joe Rogan for hours on end. So that's why they've tried to limit Joe Rogan and then to take Joe Rogan out of his element and make him do the podcast outside of his studio. Joe Rogan's studio is famous. He does interviews there for a reason. There's a vibe, an aesthetic, and a reality to doing 3 and 4 hour shows. And you need a good studio to do that. You need a studio that won't break, and you need a comfortable setting to have a nice, relaxed conversation. So Kamala Harris is trying to manipulate the Joe Rogan interview, and now this is going completely and totally viral. Joe Rogan is effectively bodying Kamala Harris and saying she's too much of a coward to do the interview. Good clarification, would definitely watch the podcast. 2 hours would be brain melting, says Elon Musk. With a straight face, a podcast host is saying he's unwilling to travel to interview the vice president of the United States of America and Democrat nominee for president. Libs are down bad. With a straight face, the podcast host had the former president of the United States of America and Republican nominee for president sit for 3 hours in a studio and viewed 38 million times on YouTube just days ago. The idea that Joe Rogan is just a podcast host and not the most consequential voice in media, and we're in media, and we're under no illusions that, maybe someday, but Joe Rogan is the true GOAT, the true king. And no one can hold a candle to the size of his audience, the power of his audience, as we've elucidated, hundreds of millions of subscribers Joe Rogan has. There's no bigger show in the world. And so, yeah, Joe Rogan can actually call the shots and can say, no, we're going to do it on my terms. He's not just a podcast host. I thought you people were supposed to know things about media. Dumbasses. Joe Rogan won't have Kamala Harris on his show unless she comes to his studio and sits for 2 to 3 hours like Trump did. We've entered an era where podcast hosts have more power than the sitting vice president. Thanks to a free and uncensored internet, the democratization of media, news reporting has finally been realized, decades after online pioneers first dreamed of the possibility. This is why the establishment politicians and regime journalists are so afraid of podcasts and social media, why they continue to aggressively push for regulation. A college dropout who started his career hosting Fear Factor, working as a UFC commentator, is able to dictate terms to the vice president, former senator, former attorney general, largest state in America. The presidential election is 1 week away, and she needs him and his audience far more than he needs her. You love to see it. That's a great take. Just a great, great take. You know what's not a great take? I think Joe Rogan is afraid to interview Kamala Harris because that it would require a great deal of research and preparation he's not equipped to do. I have found the single dumbest post on X. Simple Jack. Oh, Simple Jack. Yeah, Joe Rogan's scared of Kamala. You're right. Joe Rogan's scared of Kamala Harris, who can't survive CBS interviews. Joe Rogan is scared of Kamala Harris, who, when asked recently about her cognitive abilities, decided that she was simply going to stare into the middle distance, down the center of the camera, and not answer the question. This is an amazing clip. They actually think that Joe Rogan is scared of this.
Donald Trump was on Joe Rogan, and he called you, Madam Vice President, a very low IQ person, and said, I think she needs to take a cognitive test. I think Kamala should have a test because there's something missing, there's something wrong with her. Would you take a cognitive test?
Sure.
In other news, JD Vance is going on Joe Rogan's show after Kamala Harris snubs the popular podcaster. Oh yeah, baby. This is going to be wild. JD Vance is going on Wednesday. So this is going to be a good one. Ladies and gentlemen, the moment is here. They're screaming and losing their minds like demons, trying to take our show or any show that is free and independent off the internet. And living well is the best revenge, actually. The best revenge is actually success. Success will be our revenge. And it's going to be glorious. It's your boy Benny. Like, share, and subscribe.